Hi everyone, let's talk about Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, the new standalone kind of intro Gloomhaven game that is just about to come out. Well, it's going to be exclusive to Target for a bit in the US, I believe, and then August, everyone else will be able to get it, including us over in England. And so, yeah, I'll try and be more brief than perhaps I am in some of these first impressions, because I think I've said a lot about Gloomhaven in the past, and I've done, first impressions for Gloomhaven and Frosthaven after the prototype that will be linked in the description that you can go and check out for more blathering if you are interested in, passionate about Gloomhaven. And I'll mention up front, if you are worried about bias and stuff, I did a playthrough for the Frosthaven Kickstarter campaign. Going to be a guest designer for one of the scenarios in that game. And more than anything, though, the biggest bias that you should know about is that Gloomhaven, big Gloomhaven over here, is, and therefore all of the others, it's my favourite game. And so, yeah, you couldn't really get much more biased about it. But yeah, Jaws of the Lion then. So as a tool to introduce people to Gloomhaven, I think it is done so well. Even the number of hours I've spent playing just the base game is massive, probably more than any other game. But even so, coming into this and wanting to experience it just like someone coming at it brand new, it was so interesting because before I was just thinking, just knowing the kind of bullet point that, okay, this is trying to attract more of a mass market, it's stripped down, there are only 4 characters, there aren't unlockable classes in this, there are 25 scenarios in it, so there's, was it 95 in original Gloomhaven? But original Gloomhaven is a great big chest of a game, and while this is still, it's by no means a very slim tiny box, comparatively, it is, and it's like $50, I believe, is the RRP of it on Target, at least anyway. So knowing the bullet points of that, I've kind of got the impression that the characters are going to be simpler, the scenarios are going to be simpler, and maybe as we go through towards the end, it's going to get up to speed with what I would be used to in Gloomhaven. But not at all. The way that it's done is, I think, a really clever way that you strip down the concept of the game. It seems so obvious once you are playing through this tutorial that instead of having this big hand of cards, well, actually just have 6 cards instead. We'll just have 6 cards, and they aren't that different to begin with, even though they've got the titles of what the cards are going to end up being. We've got all of these A cards, and they've got a lot of abilities stripped out of them, so a lot of the cards are just attack or move, and maybe they'll talk about range or multiple targets and things, but not very much else. And they have great big blue boxes on them. Again, I've done a playthrough for all of this if you want to see it visually. They've got blue tooltip boxes on them, describing what that effect is going to do. And similarly for the scenarios, there are tooltips everywhere saying, okay, this is your first time seeing an obstacle, this is what the green border means, so this is difficult terrain, this is what this all means. Even though it's being taught to you in the learn to play and stuff, and you've got the rules reference to go and look up specific things, it's introduced to you bit by bit and builds on itself. And you've got these A cards, you've played a scenario with this now, you're used to these. Well, now here's a couple of B cards, replace the ones with the same name from your A's, and so these have got a few more things on them. We're getting a bit more complex now, and okay, replace them with your normal 1 cards now. And by the end of the how to play is the first 5 scenarios, and by the end of it, we have our full complement of 1 cards that we would have started with the classes in Gloomhaven with, and our X cards, the more situational cards that you have the choice of. And by the end, they are full-length scenarios. They're quicker, easier scenarios to begin with, just because the enemies are still doing some normal things, but in the very first scenario, you're not even drawing enemy cards. They are behaving on an automatic thing, which is a great thing for people that are being introduced to it, because you don't even have to worry about it's stripping down the number of components you need to worry about, the number of concepts you need to worry about. I think it is done incredibly well. Obviously, I've only played it as people that are experienced with Gloomhaven, so I haven't had a chance with the lockdown and stuff to play it with someone that has never played Gloomhaven to get a full-on in-person reaction to it. But I do feel like this is going to be a fantastic introduction to it, especially for people that all of these things that this game exists for, people that were put off by the size of Gloomhaven or the cost of it or the complexity of it, maybe looked at the rules and seen that there is a lot to get used to. I was a backer of the first Kickstarter, and so had watched probably every video that was available for it before the game ever delivered, and probably plenty of times as well. So by the time it got to me, I was so geared up, and I think the Gaming Rules official rules video was up for it just before the game delivered, and so I was primed with all of this information. So to kind of go back and think, well, what if you were coming at it just brand new, and the way you looked at it was just this rulebook and stuff? It is all of these things are hurdles to entry that I think this does such a good job of getting through. Interjection. I forgot when mentioning all of these new things to say anything about the scenario book, where instead of different configurations of tiles, we just turn to a page in the scenario book and set up monsters and things straight on it. I think it's such a fantastic touch. It saves so much time. It's so much simpler to do. And along with the supplemental scenario book, it shows that you can do a surprising amount with it, not wanting to spoil anything. So I think that the scenario book that we play on is another amazing addition. And dare I say it, I kind of wish that it's in normal Gloomhaven and Frosthaven as well. Back to me from a little bit longer ago. But so that's just one side of it. I'm not being brief at all, am I? This is going to be this is going to just be a normal length video. So there's that side of it. I think it achieves that really, really well. So the other side of it, I'm not as confident about talking about. So the content that is there for experienced Gloomhaveners. So I've had this for about a week now, and we've played through those starting scenarios so far. With we haven't seen much of the Void Warden. It's been more looking at rather than playing with it, because I am in our actual campaign, I'm the Hatchet. I love the Hatchet, by the way. Let's take a break from that. So the classes, just as they end up with their level 1 things, I've loved some classes in Gloomhaven, and they're still my favourite is a secret one in the first Gloomhaven box. Well, not a secret, an unlockable one. But the hatchet in this, I feel like I don't know what it is, but well, it's that favourite card where you can designate an enemy as favourite, and then you get bonuses for attacking that enemy again, because you're meant to be an axe thrower, and so many of the attacks are ranged, and then you get a retrieval card where you're going to pull the axe out and get your token back again, and you can throw it at another one. I feel like it's really comes together, and even though I didn't play as in the Red Guard with its kind of hook on a chain thing, and loads of its abilities are about monster manipulation and stuff. It seems so thematic, and not that other classes haven't been, but I feel like it comes through even more with these classes in this, and the demolitionist as well, always kind of putting fire out and crushing. It's all about bombs and explosives and stuff, but also those power fists crushing enemies against walls and charging into them to push them and stuff. Yeah, so even though they are they are stripped down to begin with to teach them to newer Gloomhaveners, when they come into their own and you get the full experience of them, just as excited, probably even more excited than I was. Like I loved my Cragheart, my very, very first character, my first starting character from Gloomhaven. But I've been even more excited from the start. The Cragheart started out, well, okay, and then as I leveled up, started to love more and more the kind of playstyle I was going down. Here, we're just at the level 1 cards and just kind of playing, not a prescriptive way, but you're more limited in the kind of styles that you've got. As you get to your leveled up cards, you start to see, well, this changes everything. I could now play this character in this completely different way. And depending on your player count, if it's just 2 players, then you might need to split up, the healing, or one of you needs to become a tank when, perhaps in a 4-player game, you wouldn't really need to tank as much. Someone else would be there to do that. Getting off on a tangent now. But yeah, so I've played basically scenarios 4 and 5 are, it's pretty much there. This is the end of the tutorial. So scenario 4, we've got everything but the X cards, and that's a playthrough actually. And we've got battle goals. The enemies have all of their AI decks. and we are starting to see bigger scenarios that are what I would say is the standard Gloomhaven length, which obviously alter a lot depending on your player count, and that kind of level of complexity as well. And they're obviously going to build up further as they go through. There's 25 in there, and we are just playing on this small Gloomhaven map rather than this enormous sprawling map with Gloomhaven as a little kind of waypoint on it. But yeah, I mean, as I mentioned at the beginning, what were you expecting me to say about another Gloomhaven thing? I obviously love it to bits, but the concept of doing a more introductory thing to be able to, maybe younger people, I'm not sure what the cutoff for, children getting into big Gloomhaven is, but surely this kind of ramp, that's what all of it is. It's basically a ramp that people can get up onto. I don't know, the Gloomhaven Ferry, that analogy. The wheels fell off that analogy really, really quickly. But it's a really cool idea, I think, that people that maybe would have dismissed it or been intimidated by it or just put off in any way, I think it's certainly not going to turn around everybody. It's still mainly a dungeon crawl game. While, I think that a lot of scenarios in Gloomhaven did different things than kill all enemies. It was the majority of scenarios did end up being that way, but I think even in those scenarios there was a lot of differences. Let's not get into that. I've disagreed with that in the past before, but Frosthaven is trying to have different ways of getting through scenarios rather than just kill everyone. And so too in Gloomhaven, like in the one that I did in the video, I don't want to spoil more things, but our focus isn't just killing the enemies. Our focus is destroying the summoning stones. And then in that place that we're in, well, we're down here now and we want to progress further. There's still more enemies. We still need to take them out. But the core focus of the scenario at the start and the kind of impetus for it being there is destroying those things. So it's got more and more. It's just an evolution of all things Gloomhaven while being this kind of starter box. I am just as excited to play through this as I was Gloomhaven, and kind of our Gloomhaven campaign. With all of the games I have to have, looking at the pile of games that have been put off to one side so the table could be clear. From doing this, and I need to play lots of new games to keep making videos about them. I get sent all of these things, and I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I really enjoy finding out about all of these new things, but things that we love doing, like the Gloomhaven campaign, that Gloomhaven was almost always out on our table for months and months and months and months. And so our core campaign and eventually our 4-player campaign from people becoming grown-ups ended up falling to the wayside and other games get in the way. It was great when we did the Frosthaven prototype and we got to play a few scenarios with all of those new characters and get that feeling again. And it's really great to have this feeling of starting a campaign again. And because we're always, it's always a kind of one day. It's a moving point on the calendar that one day we are gonna dig all of it out again, remember where we are, and finish our main story, because we're so far into it as well. We'll need a reminder of where we were, I think. But yeah, for that reason as well, I've really, really enjoyed starting a new thing again. And we are going to stick to it, and we're going to get to the bottom of what our adventure as the Jaws of the Lion is going to be. But there is my attempt at being brief. It didn't work, did it? The playthrough is there. That will give you a better idea of whether or not Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion would be for you. I love Gloomhaven anyway, and I don't know what would have to go wrong with it for me to be moaning about it. I'm obviously going to be effusive and superlative about it. Thank you for watching this, though. If you'd like to see more, there are nearly 400 playthroughs on this channel, and if you'd like to see more Gloomhaven stuff, there is plenty. There's at least kind of 4 full scenarios of Gloomhaven-related games on the channel now. Thank you for watching this, though, and I'll see you for the next game. Bye, everyone.